Alrighty guys, what is up and welcome back to my channel. Peace, love, and happiness. Isn't that why we're here? Or are we just here for the violence? Or predictions of the violence? You tell me. Nah, I'm just joking, but what's up and welcome back to Nwadei MMA, the daily series where I give you my thoughts, but more importantly ask for yours because you guys are the MMA community, right? And yeah, as it is right now, the MMA community is ever fast moving. You know, we got like Bellator cards, we got one championship cards. I mean, Jonathan Haggerty's taking on Nung Oh. I don't know if any of y'all know that, but that's an insane Muay Thai fight taking place on Friday. We have Curtis Blaydes taking on Sergei Pavlovich this weekend as well for the UFC. Song Yadong and Ricky Simone were supposed to be fighting on this card as well. However, that got moved to next weekend as their main event. We are going to be breaking down Sergei Pavlovich versus Curtis Blaydes and Song Yadong versus Ricky Simone. Both of those fights are going to be broken down today. However, those aren't the only fights that we have. If you guys missed it, my last upload was Ryan Garcia versus Gervonta Tank Davis predictions, and we broke that fight down. We talked about each of those fighter styles. We talked about who's the underdog coming in there, and we gave our official prediction at the end. So if you guys missed that one, go ahead and check that one out. However, with all of this being said, we're gonna go ahead and get into the predictions of Curtis Blaydes versus Sergei Pavlovich and Song Yadong versus Ricky Simone. Big fights. Alright, so first and foremost, we have this weekend's fights between Sergei Pavlovich versus Curtis Blaydes. A heavyweight matchup. A guy who is known to be a wrestler in Curtis Blaydes. A guy who's known to be a phenomenal boxer and a quick starter in Sergei Pavlovich. Pavlovich's name has been surging as of recent, right? Because he's been getting knockouts over guys like Tai Tuivasa, Derek Lewis, and guys like that. And he's been doing it quickly. Right, he's an exciting heavyweight fighter. The one loss he has came to Alistair Overeem, and it was because he got taken down, which is, you know, something that can happen in this fight. We're gonna talk about that more. But Curtis Blaydes, on the other hand, is a guy who has been known to have a little bit of a boring style with the wrestling, but has gotten just more and more exciting with every fight. I've never really seen him to be boring, because I've seen him that when he takes guys down, he tends to do damage and throws a bunch of vicious elbows. They call him Razor for a reason. His style has always been kind of exciting to me personally, but I'm a purist at heart. I love MMA, every aspect of it. So some of you, I understand, aren't like that, but I am. So but Curtis Blaydes, man, he's been improving. He's always been the dark horse of this heavyweight division, hasn't he? He's always the guy people don't really want to fight, but they have to fight to get to a title shot. And the only two who have been able to beat him is Derek Lewis, the nuke out artist, and Ngannou, the other nuke out artist of this division. Yes, I'm confusing the word knockout with a nuke, but those of you who didn't get that. Anyways, so yes, the only two people to have beaten Curtis Blaydes are people with the nuclear option, and Sergei Pavlovich also has that nuclear option. I mean, most heavyweights do, but a nuclear option is just a little bit different than a regular knockout punch or a heavy hitter. You know, it's just the ability to really just turn the person off, and you only need one. It could be a jab, it could be a cross, it could be an uppercut, but you only need one and it'll turn them off. Now, a funny thing about that is that Curtis Blaydes, I also believe he has a lot of power. It might not be the turn him off with one finger type power, but it's the power that is set up. I mean, we saw this with Chris Dawkins, and we're gonna go into a little. If you guys are new to my channel, sorry, but if you guys are new to my channel, how I like to break these fights down is I go into each fight of these fighters' past fights. I look at their styles based off of those fights, and then I compare them with each other based off of those styles, and at the end I give you my official predictions. So like I was just talking about, going into Curtis Blaydes, he is coming off the wins against Chris Dawkins and against Tom Aspinall. In both of those fights he was looking great. Tom Aspinall, that one ended in a bit of an injury. It was weird, but I think that he was getting the better of him for the time that it lasted. It looked like he came out of the gates really ready to go. I mean, he landed 2 big 1-2s as Tom Aspinall was throwing the kicks, and he seemed like he was just leading the dance a little bit, and it didn't look like it was going to go well for Aspinall. But of course he got injured. A fight's a fight, and we never know how that fight would have ended or how it would have finished. But we have to acknowledge the improvements that Curtis Blaydes is making in his game, and he's striking. I mean, he really looks crisp. He looks like he has a jab, a really good jab, and that's a lot to say for a heavyweight. So he's going to be able to keep Sergei off of him and gain that respect, I would assume. And he also is comfortable on his feet. It's not like he's just a guy who's just going to swing until he can get a takedown. That's not the kind of striker that he's turned into. He's turned into a guy who's very calm. He's going to smash the low kicks until you start coming in, and then he's looking to land the jab cross or the left hook cross. And he keeps it very simple, keeps it very sharp. He has really good footwork, and I'm impressed with how far along he's come. It just seems like he gets better and better every time we see him in that octagon, and that's what you want out of a guy who is seen as a future champion, right? So as of right now, so with that being said, how does that match up? So with that being said, how does that match up with a guy like Sergei Pavlovich, a guy who just kind of, once he figures that he's felt his opponent's power, he's just gonna kind of bombard them? And going against a striker, he could do that. Going against a brawler like Derek Lewis or Tai Tuivasa, he can do that. He could give them not so much respect just because he knows he's putting together combinations. He knows he's throwing the right technical punches rather than these looping overheads that these guys are catching him with, and he's willing to eat one to give 3 or 4 back, right? But with Curtis Blaydes, it's a different idea because you can't really rush in like that, like he did against Tai Tuivasa and against Derek Lewis. It's not going to work well if you do choose to do that, because when in doubt, he can always shoot on you. So I think it's going to be more of a stationary battle. Going into my official prediction for this fight, it's going to be more of a stationary battle. I think it's going to take a lot more place in the middle of the octagon. Pavlovich doesn't want his back against the fence because Curtis Blaydes will maul him and take him down and just beat him up if he gets him down to the ground. So I think that he's going to be looking to use a little bit more footwork. He's not going to just dart in there and rush in there. He's going to look to kind of technically try and break down Curtis Blaydes. However, I think Curtis Blaydes' striking is good enough to keep it basic, keep the boxing basic on the feet, tag him up a little bit, or at least gain the respect, and then start using his striking when Pavlovich gets a little bit more comfortable to then enter into the takedowns and start using that wrestling, because it is a different type of cardio that you need for that wrestling. It's not the same as being able to strike for 5 rounds as you need to wrestle for 5 rounds, right? I don't know if it's harder to wrestle or strike for 5 rounds, but it is different, right? So I think that it would be in his best interest to garner that respect in the first round, maybe even the first 2 rounds. He doesn't need to shoot right away, I don't think. But the moment Pavlovich starts opening up, I believe Blaydes is going to go after the legs. If not a double leg, then a single leg chaining to a double leg, and just working those wrestling exchanges in order to get him tired. And once that kind of settles in around the 2nd or 3rd round, if it gets there, I think Pavlovich is all his explosions pretty much gonna be gone. I mean, they're heavyweights, they get tired very quickly. I wouldn't be surprised if it was gone by like round 2.5, right? So with that being said, I think that Curtis Blaydes is gonna take this one. I think he's just more well-rounded, and I think that Pavlovich, the way he's just been finishing these guys, more people are aware of him now, but that doesn't mean his style necessarily works well against Curtis Blaydes, and not many people's style works well against Curtis Blaydes. I didn't think Aspinall's style worked well against Curtis Blaydes, even though he was a black belt, even though he was working a lot of submissions off his back in training camp. I didn't think his style particularly worked well either, because he's kind of explosive. He likes to dart in there with a lot of hands as well. That's why he started trying to mix up the low kicks. But I think that Curtis Blaydes, the way I see this one playing out, I see him tagging the low kicks very early, because Pavlovich does have more of a boxing stance. When Pavlovich starts to try and close the distance, Curtis Blaydes is probably going to try and get some respect with his hands, throwing that 1-2-3-2 down the pipe. And then when it starts to slow down, when it starts to get more centered and focused around footwork, I think that Curtis is going to start looking for his entries into the wrestling. And, you know, that's all she wrote. Now, moving on to Song Yadong versus Ricky Simón. A good fight. This is actually a really good fight because Ricky Simón, he's flown a little bit under the radar, but he's been in the UFC forever. I mean, he's always been that guy who's like right at that number 10 or 9 slot, right, or maybe just outside that top 10, because he's very well rounded. He can strike, he can wrestle, he can grapple. It just seems like he hasn't been able to get a good enough streak going to break into that top 5. So Ricky Simón is a very good fighter, but he's going against Song Yadong. Song Yadong is one of these new age guys. I believe he's just a generation after Ricky Simón. He seems like just a little bit more creative. He seems a little bit more, he has a little bit more pizzazz to him, but he can also wrestle, he can also grapple, and he can also strike. I would say he's more of a striker, more with his hands than anything. However, he does throw kicks. He likes to spin a little bit. He throws high kicks, low kicks, and, you know, he's a well-rounded mixed martial artist. Song Yadong is a very sharp fighter. He has a win over Marlon Vera. He had a very close fight with Corey Sandhagen, and if the ref didn't stop it due to that cut, I think he possibly could have won that fight against Corey Sandhagen. I mean, he's the upper echelon of this division for sure. And Ricky Simón being on a 5-fight win streak is one of Song's toughest tests to date. I mean, he has wins over guys like Brian Kelleher, Rafael Sunsao, he knocked out. He just submitted Jack Shore in his last outing. He's a seasoned fighter. And if you look at the records, it seems like Ricky Simón is even a better fighter. However, I think it's going to be another one of those fights where it's like it could go either way. I think that Song Yadong has a little bit more of that finishing ability in his hands, at least like with the knockout power. I think he's a bit faster than Ricky Simón, but Ricky Simón, if Corey Sandhagen can mix it up against Song Yadong the way he did, and they can affect Song Yadong that much to make him start hesitating and stuff like that and start slowing him down, I assume Ricky Simón can too. Now, Ricky Simón, he's a bit shorter. He doesn't have as much length as Corey Sandhagen. Corey Sandhagen seems like a harder fight than Ricky Simón. But guys, this one could really go either way. Now, as far as who I have winning this fight and how they win this fight, you know, I can see this fight getting into the 3rd and 4th round. I think the first couple rounds, it's gonna be a lot of chess matches, and it's gonna be a lot of Ricky Simón trying to mix that wrestling in and trying to lead the dance. And depending on how that goes, he's gonna continue doing it until the end of the 5th round. But you know what, I think in the middle of this video I'm changing my opinion a little bit. I was leaning a little bit more towards Song Yadong, but I don't see a reason why Ricky Simón can't get this one done. I don't see a reason why him mixing up his wrestling in the innovative ways in which he does, and him being able to stop Song Yadong from really putting on the pressure and closing the distance and keeping that forward pressure moving. I don't see why Ricky Simón, with his grappling prowess, can't get this one done, and I don't see why the wrestling won't be able to drain on Song Yadong's muscles. I think Song Yadong is the bigger fighter in this weight class. I think that he might be getting a little bit more drained than Ricky Simón in this weight class, and I think that Ricky Simón, regardless of the hype of Song Yadong, might be able to grind this one out. Now again, I am telling you that this was a close fight. I mean, before I even started recording this video, I thought Song Yadong, that's a tough motherfucker, But you know what, guy, I'm gonna go with Ricky Simón. I think he'll be able to get it done in a 5-round decision. It's hard to see him finishing Song Yadong. I think if there's gonna be a finish, it might happen in the later rounds for either fighter, but for Ricky Simón, or in the earlier rounds for Song Yadong, because I feel like he is more explosive. But I don't see why Ricky Simón can't drag this one out to a 5-round decision and be able to get this one done. So with that being said, guys, I'm choosing Ricky Simón. Gun to my head, choosing Ricky Simón. Song Yadong, he can win this fight. If he wins, I won't be surprised. But you guys have my prediction. What do you guys think in the comments down below? Please let me know. Again, I'm giving you my thoughts, but I'm asking for yours, really. I'm really asking for yours. I want to know what you guys think. So again, like, comment, share, support your boy. And with that being said, y'all stay safe and stay blessed. I'm out.